I'm Dr. Elena Hartwell. I've been practicing internal medicine and diabetes management for over 22 years. And today I need to say something to you that I wish someone in my profession had said much sooner. If you gave up ice cream the day you were diagnosed, I owe you an apology, not a polite clinical apology. A real one. Because what happened to you happens in my field every single week, and it has been happening for decades, and it is not right. You sat in that office. You got the diagnosis, and somewhere in the conversation that followed, in the rushed handout, in the simplified meal plan, in the 10 minutes your doctor had before the next patient, someone told you that dessert was over, that ice cream specifically was off the table, that if you were serious about managing your blood sugar, you would have to give it up. And you did, because you were serious, because you wanted to do this right, because you love the people in your life and you wanted to stay healthy for them. So you gave it up. And then you found the substitutes, the frozen yogurt with the healthy-sounding label, the sugar-free pints with the blue carton that said right on the front that it was made for people like you, the fat-free version your pharmacist pointed to at the grocery store. And here is the thing that kept me up at night when I finally understood it fully. Some of those substitutes were raising your blood sugar higher than the ice cream you gave up. A clinical trial published in Frontiers in Nutrition in 2024, conducted at the Dasman Diabetes Institute on real type 2 diabetic patients, measured something that most doctors still have not read. The glycemic index of regular full-fat ice cream is 37. Whole wheat bread, the bread many of you were told to eat instead, is 74. White rice is 72. The dessert you sacrificed the day you were diagnosed raises your blood sugar more slowly than the toast you may have eaten this morning. That number is not an opinion. It is a clinical measurement, and you deserve to hear it years ago. Today, I am giving it back to you. In this video, I am going to show you 5 ice creams that are genuinely safe to bring home, each one chosen for a different reason. Each one backed by research I am going to walk you through clearly. And I am going to warn you about 3 products being marketed directly at your diagnosis that are quietly doing real damage. One of those 3 may be sitting in your freezer right now, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to find it. Stay with me until the very end, because the 5th ice cream on the safe list costs under $2 a serving, requires no special shopping. And when I show you the science behind why it works, it is going to genuinely surprise you. And warning number 1, the most dangerous trap on this entire list is the one wearing the label that says safest. Before we go any further, I want to ask you one question. How many years has it been since you sat down and enjoyed a real bowl of ice cream without guilt? Just type the number in the comments, one number. I read every single comment, and I am asking because the answers I get to that question are some of the most heartbreaking things I see on this channel. People writing 4, writing 7, writing 11 years. That is 11 years of summer evenings and family birthdays and Sunday nights after dinner spent watching everyone else eat something you loved because someone gave you incomplete information and you trusted them. That ends today. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, we are a community of people over 60 who manage blood sugar with real information, not fear, not deprivation, and not the advice that was handed to you on a photocopied sheet. We are working toward 10,000 subscribers, and every person who joins is someone who no longer has to figure this out alone. Tap subscribe right now. It takes 1 second. And now let me show you the science that changes everything. Here is what was missing from every warning you were ever given about ice cream. Ice cream is not the enemy of your blood sugar. The kind of ice cream is. And the difference comes down to what I call the 3 breaks. When you eat real, full-fat ice cream, 3 separate things happen inside your body that slow down the glucose response. The first break is the fat itself. The cream in ice cream slows the rate at which your stomach empties. Food that leaves your stomach slowly means glucose enters your bloodstream slowly. That is break number 1. The second break is the dairy protein. Protein in your digestive system triggers the release of a hormone called GLP-1 from the cells lining your small intestine. GLP-1 is the exact same hormone that expensive injectable medications like Ozempic and Wegovy are engineered to replicate. It signals your pancreas to release insulin at precisely the right moment and further slows gastric emptying. Your body produces this naturally every time you eat protein. That is break number 2. The third break is the one nobody ever mentions: temperature. Ice cream is cold. Your stomach has to warm it before digestion can even begin. That warming process adds time. Time is the one thing between your breakfast and a blood sugar spike. Cold temperature buys your body precious minutes. That is break number 3. 3 natural mechanisms working together on every single spoonful of real full-fat ice cream. And the 2024 clinical trial from the Dasman Diabetes Institute measured exactly these effects in real type 2 diabetic patients eating different ice cream products. The differences in glucose response between products were not subtle. They were dramatic. Some products had all 3 breaks intact. Others had 1 or 2 removed in the processing. And the glucose curves told the story immediately. The 5 ice creams I'm about to show you each preserve at least one of those breaks powerfully. That is why they belong in your freezer. And the 3 I am going to warn you about have had their breaks stripped out. In some cases, replaced with ingredients that actively spike your glucose, while the label tells you the opposite. Let us start with number 1. And this is the one I want you to try first if you have never tried it, because it is the gentlest option on this entire list, and it requires almost no effort to make. Cottage cheese ice cream. I know exactly what you are thinking. I see it on patients' faces every time I suggest it. And I'm asking you to stay with me for 60 seconds before you decide, because what happens when you blend full-fat cottage cheese completely smooth and freeze it is genuinely surprising. The texture comes out almost identical to soft serve. Creamy, thick, and cold in a way that feels like a real dessert, not a compromise. A real dessert. But here's the reason it is number 1 on this list. A single half-cup serving gives you approximately 14 grams of protein. That is roughly 3 times the protein in a typical scoop of traditional ice cream. And 14 grams of protein hitting your digestive system triggers a GLP-1 response powerful enough to nearly double the time food sits in your stomach. Glucose enters your bloodstream in a slow, controlled trickle. No sharp spike, no crash an hour later when your energy suddenly drops and you cannot understand why. And there is something specific to your stage of life that I want to address directly, because it almost never comes up in these conversations. After 60, your body begins losing muscle mass at an accelerating rate. Doctors call this sarcopenia. You may not feel it dramatically yet, but it is happening quietly. In your grip strength, your balance, the way stairs feel on a tired afternoon. Every gram of protein you can bring into your day helps slow that process. So when you eat cottage cheese ice cream, you are not just protecting your blood sugar. You are protecting your strength, your stability, and your independence. Here is the exact recipe. 1 cup of full-fat cottage cheese. And I mean full fat, not reduced or low fat. The fat is doing real work here as break number 1. Add 1 tablespoon of allulose or erythritol, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a small handful of frozen berries if you want natural color and flavor. Blend everything until completely silky, no lumps. Pour into a freezer-safe container, freeze for 2 to 3 hours, give it 1 stir at the halfway point, and eat. Approximately 120 calories per half cup, only 5 to 7 grams of carbohydrates. If cottage cheese is simply not something you enjoy, I understand completely. Number 2 is for you, and it tastes much closer to the ice cream you remember. Homemade frozen Greek yogurt. And I need you to hold the word homemade very carefully, because I am going to say something later in this video about commercial frozen yogurt that is going to contradict everything you have been told about it. But that contradiction is not about this. What you make at home with the right ingredients and what comes out of a commercial machine are 2 entirely different foods. Hold that thought. I will come back to it. When you freeze full-fat plain Greek yogurt at home, you get a texture as creamy and satisfying as traditional ice cream. But you also get 8 to 10 grams of protein per serving. The natural fat that functions as break number 1, and something else that matters enormously specifically after 60 live probiotic cultures. The lactobacillus strains and other beneficial bacteria in real Greek yogurt have been shown in research to gradually improve insulin sensitivity over weeks and months of consistent use. You are not just managing one evening's blood sugar spike. You are slowly changing the way your body processes glucose over time. That is a different category of benefit entirely. But I have to be very direct about one thing. It must be full-fat Greek yogurt, not low-fat, not fat-free, not the kind with fruit stirred in at the factory. The moment you remove the fat, break number 1 disappears. Glucose enters your bloodstream faster. The protective effect collapses. The fat is not optional. The fat is the medicine. The recipe: 2 cups of full-fat plain Greek yogurt, 2 tablespoons of allulose or erythritol, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a handful of fresh or frozen berries. Stir together, pour into a freezer-safe container, and stir every 30 minutes until firm. Or use an ice cream maker if you have one. Let me tell you about Catherine. Catherine is 68 years old. She walked into my office having given up every dessert in her house after her A1C hit 8.1. She was doing what she believed was the right thing. Total deprivation. 6 months of it. When she came back for her follow-up, her chart showed something I did not expect. Her A1C was 6.9. I looked at her and said, "Catherine, what changed?" She looked almost embarrassed. She said, "Doctor, I have to confess something. I have been eating frozen yogurt every single night after dinner." I asked her to describe it exactly. Half a cup, homemade, made exactly the way I just described, every night after a proper dinner. And she served it in a small glass cup. Her mother's cup, she told me, because in her words, if I eat from the container, I will eat the whole container. That small cup, eaten from her mother's glass after a real dinner, every single night, did what 6 months of strict deprivation could not do. Her A1C dropped by more than a full point. She had stopped fighting herself and started working with her body instead. Now, I know that some evenings there is simply no time or energy to blend, freeze, and stir. Some nights you come home tired and you need something you can pull directly from the freezer. Number 3 exists for exactly those nights: ice cream sweetened with erythritol and stevia. Both of these sweeteners have a glycemic index of 0. Erythritol is a sugar alcohol that passes through your body almost completely unchanged. It is never broken down into glucose because your body lacks the enzyme to digest it. Stevia is derived from a plant leaf and has been used as a natural sweetener for centuries. Neither one provokes a meaningful insulin response, and both of them preserve the fat content of the ice cream, which means break number 1 remains fully intact. 3 brands I trust and recommend by name: Halo Top, particularly the Golden Blondie and Vanilla Bean flavors. Approximately 21 grams of carbohydrates per 2/3 cup. Widely available at Walmart, Target, and Costco. Enlightened Keto line. Only 1 gram of net carbs per serving. The most precise option if you want the tightest possible blood sugar control. And no sugar-added coconut milk-based ice cream, made on a coconut milk base, which makes it the right choice if dairy causes you any digestive discomfort. When you read any label in the freezer aisle, look for erythritol and stevia leaf extract near the top of the ingredient list. That combination is your green light. One honest caution. After 60, the digestive system can become more sensitive to sugar alcohols in larger quantities. Erythritol in amounts above half a cup can cause bloating in some people. Start with a 1/4 cup the first time. Give your body 1 week to show you how it responds before moving to a larger serving. Before I go further, have you ever brought home a pint of Halo Top or Enlightened? If you have, tell me in the comments which flavor and what your glucometer showed 1 to 2 hours later. That real-world data from people wearing continuous monitors matters more than any number printed on a nutrition label. And the people watching this video need to hear it from someone who actually tried it. Stay with me, because number 4 is built on research published just last year, and the science behind it is something most doctors in practice today have not read yet. And number 5, the one I mentioned at the very beginning, is under $2, requires no special ingredients, and is sitting in your kitchen right now. Number 4 is ice cream sweetened with allulose. And this one deserves your complete attention for one reason that separates it from everything else on this list. In 2024, a meta-analysis was published in the journal Metabolism Open. Researchers collected data from 6 randomized clinical trials covering 126 patients with type 2 diabetes and asked a single question: what does allulose actually do to blood sugar? The answer stopped me when I first read it. Allulose did not simply stay neutral the way erythritol does. Allulose actively lowered post-meal glucose levels. It reduced the total area under the glucose curve. It cut the time patients spent above a safe blood sugar threshold. In practical terms, allulose is not a passenger riding along quietly inside your dessert. It is functioning as a 4th brake, on top of the 3 natural ones we already discussed, actively pulling glucose down rather than simply not adding to it. I want you to understand what that means for you. You are not just avoiding a spike. You are eating something that reduces the spike from the other food around it at the same meal. 2 brands I want you to know by name. Rebel Ice Cream, built on a base of full-fat heavy cream with 0 added sugar and sweetened entirely with allulose. Real-world data from people using continuous glucose monitors consistently shows blood sugar rising only approximately 15 milligrams per deciliter after a serving. That is remarkably low. Lower than most foods people consider safe. The second brand is Nick's Swedish Style, a blend of allulose, erythritol, and stevia with a wide range of flavors that come closer to the taste of traditional ice cream than almost anything else in this category. You will find these at Whole Foods, Sprouts, and Kroger, and they are beginning to appear at Walmart and Target. I will be honest about cost. These run $6 to $7 a pint, more than Halo Top. This is the option for someone who wants the best possible blood sugar outcome from a commercial product and is willing to invest a little more for it. And now, number 5. The one I have been building toward since the very first sentence of this video. The one that costs under $2 a serving, requires no special shopping, uses no commercial sweeteners, and produces a texture indistinguishable from soft serve. A frozen banana, blended with 3 other ingredients you almost certainly already have in your kitchen. I know how this sounds. Please stay with me for 90 seconds, because the science behind why this works is genuinely fascinating and almost nobody is talking about it. A fresh banana has a glycemic index of around 51. Not ideal on its own for someone managing blood sugar. But here is what happens when you freeze that banana and allow it to thaw before blending. A process called retrogradation occurs inside the starch structure. A portion of the regular digestible starch physically converts into something called resistant starch, and resistant starch does exactly what its name says. It resists digestion. It passes through your digestive system almost completely without being broken down into glucose. Research confirmed by Johns Hopkins Patient Education Materials and Agricultural Studies from Clemson University Extension shows that resistant starch improves insulin sensitivity and significantly blunts the post-meal blood sugar response. You are changing the molecular structure of the banana simply by freezing it. The same fruit, a different food. Here is the exact recipe. 1 ripe banana, sliced into coins and frozen for at least 4 hours. That freezing time is what triggers the resistant starch conversion, so do not skip it. 2 tablespoons of natural peanut butter with no added sugar. This powerfully amplifies the GLP-1 response and adds fat for break number 1. Half a teaspoon of true Ceylon cinnamon. Research shows Ceylon cinnamon improves how your GLUT transporters carry glucose out of your bloodstream. And 1 tablespoon of unsweetened pure cocoa powder. The epicatechin compound in cocoa supports your pancreatic beta cells, the very cells responsible for producing insulin. Place everything in a food processor or high-powered blender. Blend until completely smooth. The texture will be thick, cold, and genuinely creamy. Soft serve in every way that matters. Sweetened entirely by the banana itself. No added sugar of any kind. No sugar alcohols. No sweeteners at all. Real food with real nutrients and real mechanisms working in your favor. Under $2 per serving. Every ingredient already in your kitchen. One important note. Every body responds differently. The first time you make this, check your glucometer 1 to 2 hours after eating. especially if your A1C is currently above 8.0 or if you are on insulin. Your meter tells the truth about your specific body, and I want you to use it. Now, you have 5 safe choices in your freezer. But before you head to the store, I need to show you the 3 products that have been sold directly to people with your diagnosis, using words designed to make you trust them, and what they are actually doing inside your body. Warning number 3 is the one that is hardest to hear because the advice behind it came from real doctors. Low-fat, fat-free, and light ice cream. I understand completely why you chose it. For years, you were told that fat was dangerous, that saturated fat raised cholesterol, that if you were over 60 and managing a chronic condition, every gram of fat was a risk you could not afford. So when you walked down that freezer aisle and saw fat-free on the label, you reached for it with a completely clear conscience. That was not foolishness. That was trust. But here is what the food industry knew and chose not to explain. When manufacturers remove fat from ice cream, the product loses its texture, its richness, and its palatability. So they add sugar to replace it. More sugar goes in, and the break that fat provided, the one that slowed stomach emptying and controlled the glucose curve, is completely gone. The result is a sharper, faster, higher blood sugar spike than if you had eaten the full-fat version. The team at Signos tracked over 600 people using continuous glucose monitors eating different types of ice cream. Soft serve and reduced fat ice cream raised blood sugar by an average of 43.9 milligrams per deciliter. Regular full-fat ice cream raised it by only 35.4. That gap is not small. It is the difference between a number that worries you and a number that doesn't. This was not your fault. You were given a cholesterol warning. You switched to low fat in good faith, and nobody told you that the fat you were avoiding was the very thing protecting your blood sugar. The brands to leave on the shelf: Breyer's fat-free, Edy's and Dreyer's slow-churned light, Skinny Cow, Sherbet, which is low in fat but loaded with sugar, and Sorbet, which is essentially pure sugar in elegant packaging with none of the 3 breaks working at all. The shortcut. Any label that uses the words light, fat-free, low-fat, or skinny goes back in the freezer. Every time, without exception. Warning number 2 may be the most misunderstood food in the entire health food aisle, and I say that as someone who has watched an entire generation of well-meaning patients be misled by it. Commercial frozen yogurt. Let me show you a side-by-side comparison, because the numbers are genuinely shocking when you see them together. Dannon Light and Fit Frozen Yogurt, marketed specifically as the responsible, health-conscious choice, contains 21 grams of sugar in a half-cup serving. Häagen-Dazs Vanilla, the premium full-fat ice cream you have been avoiding for years because it sounded indulgent, contains 20 grams of sugar in the same half-cup serving. Read those numbers again slowly. The frozen yogurt labeled healthy contains more sugar than the premium ice cream you gave up. And because commercial frozen yogurt is also low in fat, there is no break number 1 to slow any of it down. More sugar in, no fat to control the absorption. The glucose hits your bloodstream faster, harder, and sharper than it would have from the Häagen-Dazs. It is the worst of both worlds, packaged inside a label designed to make you feel responsible for choosing it. And if you have ever walked into one of those self-serve frozen yogurt shops, the ones with the swirl machines, the cheerful decor, the topping bars with granola and chocolate drizzle, please listen to this number. A medium cup, by the time you add granola, chocolate sauce, and a few sprinkles, can carry 60 to 80 grams of sugar in a single serving. That is one of the highest glycemic loads commercially available anywhere. In a cup that was sold to you as the healthy choice, I want to be absolutely clear. The homemade frozen Greek yogurt I described in the safe list is a completely different food. I am not contradicting myself. What you make at home from full-fat plain Greek yogurt with real ingredients is one thing. What comes out of a commercial machine, a supermarket carton, or a frozen yogurt chain is entirely another. The chains and brands to set aside. Pinkberry, Menchie's, 16 Handles, Red Mango, Yogurtland, Yasso frozen yogurt pints, Dannon Light and Fit frozen yogurt, Stonyfield frozen yogurt. But the worst offender on this entire list, the one I want you to remember above everything else, is not low-fat ice cream. It is not commercial frozen yogurt. It is the product wearing the label that looks most like it was made for you. Warning number 1. Sugar-free ice cream sweetened with maltitol. This is a Trojan horse, and I want to use that phrase carefully because it is exactly the right one. You received a diagnosis. You took it seriously. You started reading labels. You looked for the words sugar-free because sugar was what you were told to avoid. And you found it right there on the carton, printed proudly, marketed directly at people managing blood sugar. It looked like someone in the food industry had finally made something with you in mind. But inside that ingredient list, hidden below the reassuring front label, is a sweetener called maltitol. And maltitol does not behave like erythritol or allulose. It behaves almost like sugar. Here are the numbers. Maltitol has a glycemic index between 35 in its powder form and 52 in its syrup form. Its insulin index sits at 27. For comparison, erythritol has a glycemic index of 0 and an insulin index near 0. Maltitol is not a safe sweetener for someone managing type 2 diabetes. It is a sweetener that spikes blood sugar while wearing the label of one that doesn't. And then there is the multiplier that makes it worse. Because the carton says sugar-free, people eat double the portion they would normally eat. The total glucose impact in real life often ends up higher than if they had eaten regular full-fat ice cream. Add to that the fact that maltitol acts as a laxative in larger amounts, causing bloating, cramping, and diarrhea. And dehydration in an older body concentrates the glucose already in your blood, making the spike even sharper. Let me tell you about Kenneth. Kenneth is 71 years old. He walked into my office with an A1C of 7.4 and a look on his face I have seen many times, the look of someone who is completely confused by their own body. He insisted he had not touched sugar in 6 months. Not once. I asked him to walk me through exactly what he had been eating. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded ingredient label. He had been saving every food label since the day of his diagnosis. That was his system. His way of staying in control of something that had frightened him deeply. He handed me the label from Breyer's no sugar added ice cream. He had been eating it 2 to 3 times a week because the carton specifically said it was safe for people managing blood sugar. The third ingredient on that label, maltitol, I asked him to switch to Halo Top. Just that one change. 3 months later, his A1C was 6.6. What he said to me at that appointment is something I have thought about many times since. He said, "Doctor, I did everything they told me to do. I just feel like somebody forgot to tell me one important piece of information." That sentence is why this channel exists. The brands to leave on the shelf permanently. Breyer's no sugar added. Turkey Hill no sugar added. Edie's and Dreyer's no sugar added. And virtually every store brand sugar-free version at the major chains. The 5-second label rule. Pick up the carton, find the ingredient list, scan the first 3 ingredients. If you see the word maltitol, maltitol syrup, or sorbitol, put it back. You do not need to read another word. Here is what I want you to do starting tonight. 4 actions, that is all. Tonight, open your freezer. Pick up every sugar-free product you own and read the first 3 ingredients. If you see maltitol, take it out. You now know exactly what it has been doing. This week, try one of the 5 safe options I described. Just one. The one that sounds most natural given what you already have at home. If you have a banana, a jar of peanut butter, and some cocoa powder, you have everything you need for number 5 tonight. From now on, the timing rule. Only eat ice cream after a dinner that already contains at least 20 grams of protein and some real fat. Never on an empty stomach. Never between meals. The protein and fat from your dinner extend the braking effect and make any dessert gentler on your blood sugar. And gather your own data. Check your glucometer 1 to 2 hours after trying any new product for the first time. Your meter is the most honest tool you have. It speaks the truth about your specific body, and no label or clinical study can replace what it tells you directly. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. How many years has it been since you enjoyed ice cream without guilt? Which of the 5 safe options are you going to try first? And after watching this video, which product are you pulling out of your freezer tonight? tell me. I read every single comment and I respond to as many as I can. Take care of yourself this week. I will see you in the next one.